What is a battery? How do they work? Batteries are simply two different metals that are together in a solution that are going to allow electrons to react with the solution and flow between the plates to create a current. So the history of this goes back to two guys that had a debate. And no, it's not Edison and Tesla. These are two guys you don't know, Luigi Galvani and a guy named Alessandro Volta. So Galvani had an experiment where he had frog legs. Now, I'm fresh out of frogs, and we don't condone the violence of frogs in our videos. So today we're using our chameleon tape dispenser. Galvani had his experiment where his frogs were hanging on a hook. And then when they were poked with a probe of another metal, the frog legs would twitch. And so he concluded that clearly the frog had voltage inside of it. He called it animal electricity. And this is fantastic. You think about it, because this is the beginning of understanding that life, that our bodies, all of that has electrical fields in it, have electrical circuits in it. That's how our muscles and nerves work. But he was dead wrong. Volta looked at this and thought, I don't think so. The reality of what's going on here is we have two different metals. And he came up with an experiment here. He came up with these two different metals, zinc and copper, and he had a pad in between them that was soaked in a salt brine. And as he would lay these on top of each other, he would get voltage, which is what we're going to see here. We get our voltmeter out. And if we go between the top plate, see if we can get to the bottom plate, we can get about a volt. Not a lot. You're not going to power your house on that, and you're not going to charge your phone, but it's a start. You hook enough of those together, and you're going to create a battery. Let's look at how batteries have evolved. So over here, we have the same thing with our plates, well made with zip ties and napkins. And then we're going to add in our electrolyte solution. Now, batteries are made with battery acid. Battery acid is a little hard to handle, so we're using something different, soda, carbonic acid. As we pour this in here, it's going to go up, cover our plates, and as that bubbles around and that reacts with those metals and electrons start flowing, we're going to get voltage. And again, we see a little bit less. But as those bubbles start to pop and we get more and more of those plates exposed to the liquid, that voltage comes up a little bit more. So now the next question, why acid instead of salt? Why acid instead of brine? And the answer is right here. These are salt crystals. So from an earlier experiment we did, these formed out of the salt that was in the water, in our cup of water that our brine was in. So these will occur with salt water, and we don't want these growing in our batteries. So we use acid instead of salt water. Makes it a little bit more secure.